Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order, but just before we get into the meeting, Doug and Ryan, you're on Zoom. So if you want to make a comment, just maybe speak up, and then we'll include you that way as opposed to trying to put up your hands, because quite frankly, I can't see the screen very good. So just speak up, and then we'll recognize you, and then you can say your bit, unless I call on you, which I will when we get to the reports, Ryan.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's move into the agenda, and the first item on the agenda is the regular council meeting minutes from June 15th. So I have a resolution moved by Councillor Phillips, seconded by Councillor George, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on June 15th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. You have those minutes in front of you. Are there any errors or omissions with respect to that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. And Doug, this is where you'll say in favor once we get to that point. So all in favor?
In favor.
Good, thank you. Carried. Next, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Benson, seconded by Councillor George, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on June 30th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Again, you have those minutes in front of you. Are there any errors or omissions with respect to that set of minutes? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Carried. No delegations tonight, no unfinished business, new business and communications. So we have the communication items there. There's 3 items in section number 1. Any questions or comments with respect to any of those 3 items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Legislative and Finance Committee. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Holmans, that the minutes of the Legislative and Finance Committee meeting held on July 8th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Councillor Mitchell, any comments with respect to that set of minutes?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's 3 items on in the minutes, all which have items coming up here shortly. So there was a request for tax reduction from a corporation that was discussed, the 2020 election report, and a financial update that will be provided further in the meeting.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Okay, I'll call for the vote on the resolution. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Carried. Next up is a resolution moved by Councillor Holman, seconded by Councillor Mitchell, that the 2020 election report be received and approved as presented. Any questions from council with respect to that election report? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Carried. Next, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Holmans, that we approve tax cancellations in the amount of $30,370.92 as attached. Any questions or comments with respect to those tax cancellations? I gotta see them first. So, Madam Treasurer, those tax cancellations, looking at the list here, they're all nonprofit organizations or demolitions, is that right?
That's correct. So the majority of them would be the miscellaneous nonprofit organization policy that we have, where we cancel the portion of municipal tax.
Okay, thank you. All right, call for the vote on the resolution. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried, thank you. Next up on the agenda is the tax collection comparative statement. Any questions with respect to that statement? Any comments, Madam Treasurer?
So in comparison with 2019, there was a $3 million, roughly $3 million that was collected by the end of June this year. In 2019, it was 3.7 million. I would say this would be a direct result of the city putting in some extensions in place up to September 30th, penalty-free payments. So we're seeing that lag of payments coming through.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the financial report as at June 30th, 2020. City Manager, do you have any comments with respect to that report?
I don't. I would put this over to the city treasurer for further comments. I do want to just make council aware. I was on a call here this morning, and we will see by July 30th the economic impact data report that all the 16 cities have taken part in. So there's been a working group created off the City Mayor's Caucus group, and we will see those figures here by July 30th, which will give us a clear picture as to where we stand as a city compared to the rest of the 16.
All right, thank you. Madam Treasurer, any comments?
We did look at the second quarter projections up to June 30th, 2020. When we did have to adjust some of our operations due to the COVID pandemic, we had looked at a date of opening our facilities of September 1st, that's of 2020, that seemed to fit our budget. We were able to make budget then. This situation has been fluid, it's been changing, and we've had to adapt, and we were being able to change some of our operations to meet budget. But there have been some changes lately that we feel that we're projecting that there may be a deficit, and it's mainly due to changing our levels of service and needing more resources in certain areas to maintain some of our facilities. So we're here to be able to provide services to the public. So we will be opening up the Northern Lights Palace Arena earlier than September 1st. It'll be in August to run some some camps, and that way we're going to have to split some shifts, so there'll be some labor costs associated with that. Our Carrie Vicker Center is opening to city events. There will be some costs associated with that. The sports fields have been open since June 22nd, which required more maintenance than we had anticipated. We are looking at, we have not filled some of our vacant positions, and one of those vacant positions is key in the safety aspect. So we are looking at, till the remainder of the year, looking at filling a safeties officer position, only because there is so much going on in the city. It's too big a risk not to fill that position. There's a lot of construction going on here with the city. There's a lot of day-to-day operations that we feel we need to fill that position. And the cemetery, maintenance of the cemetery, we're looking at another body to, as seasonal, to be able to deal with that, be dedicated to that full-time, so.
Oh, you got some more? Okay.
I know, I was going to go into
Yeah.
what that might cause for a potential projection of deficit.
Okay.
We're going to try and work with these numbers to ensure that we don't have a deficit, but I want council to be prepared that this may happen. These are all within budget. You know, that we've talked about these within budget, and we've approved them within budget, just so you're aware that if we do, at the end of the year, run into a deficit, we would have to take that through resolution to council to be able to repay it through the rate stabilization fund and have a repayment schedule through resolution. So we were looking that there could be a potential deficit of $66,865. So just wanted to make you aware of that in general operations. The other, oh, sorry, I should wait to see if anybody has any questions about that.
Any questions?
Just a
Councillor
comment.
Holman?
Like, it's fair to say that the cost of maintaining status quo levels of service has become significantly increased due to the pandemic then, basically.
Yes, yeah, that, I mean, it was particularly with things being so fluid and changing almost, you wouldn't even say on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis, that we'd have been, it's been hard to maintain.
Councillor Mitchell?
Thank you. So just to understand, when the COVID pandemic hit and we reorganized services and things had to be shut down, there was a shift and a rebalancing within the budget. And so now that things are now starting to spin back up, we have to bring those folks back to work, which is then causing a pressure on the budget as we reopen. So it's a good news story from a reopening perspective, but therefore conversely impacts our operational budget while we start to reopen, so.
Okay. Anything else, Treasurer?
With the other funds, the utility, the waste collection, the landfill, the wellness center, and the capital fund, we are close to hitting our targets, so I don't have any concerns with them. So. And we'll be looking at this in the third quarter as well and providing projections. So we'll keep
All right.
the situation.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Holman?
I thought I did some reading as well that FCM was trying to advocate for some subsidization funds of some sort from upper levels of government to just help with operating costs and whatnot. Do we know if that's progressed any further, or if that's something that might be coming down the pipeline to help us out?
I can comment on that, Tim. I was on a call again this morning as part of the working group. The data that's being compiled amongst the 16 cities right now, that report will go off to them. There has been an indication from the federal government that there is something coming. It's just a matter of, I guess, figuring out what is attached and what parameters are attached to it. And we hope to have clarification and potentially an announcement on that at some point later next week.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right. let's move on to the legislative and finance report. City manager?
Thanks. I'll throw the city treasurer's report out for review, and any questions we'll refer to her at this time.
City treasurer, any comments?
The deadline for assessment appeal was today, July 13th. So I did report that we had one open appeal. There were 4 more that came in today. So there's 5 open appeals right now.
All right, questions, Councillor Homans?
Do you have any idea of a dollar amount those 5 appeals represent in terms of taxation?
I know that 2 of them are bigger commercial properties within the city. So those always have bigger ramifications for us if the appeal doesn't go in our favor. So, but an exact number, no, I don't.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to Community and Protective Services Committee. I have a resolution moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Phillips, that the minutes of the Community Services Committee meeting held on July 8th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. And as you see in your correspondence, that was a closed meeting. So I will call for the vote on the resolution. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried, thank you. Next, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Phillips, seconded by Councillor George, that we approve the land sale prices established on the following City of Melfort properties. All sale prices include GST. I'll read them all. Address is 42 Orr Drive, price $81,600. 40 Orr Drive, $80,500. 38 Orr Drive, $80,500. 36 Orr Drive, $80,500. 34 Orr Drive, $68,300. 32 Orr Drive, $68,300. 30 Orr Drive, $68,300. 28 Orr Drive, $68,300. 21 Orr Drive, $62,700. 22 Orr Drive, $59,900. 23 Orr Drive, $87,300. 24 Orr Drive, $100,600. 25 Orr Drive, $64,700. Questions or comments from council? Councillor Homans.
I'm just wondering what kind of incentives people would qualify for potentially if they purchase these lots?
Director Lutz.
So purchase of these lots is the same as any of the current lots we have for sale in the Creeks or Spruce Grove neighborhood. There's a $6,000 construction rebate. So effectively, that would be reducing their cost of the lot, but the payment is required up front, and then the rebate is paid back at the end of construction.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you can hear me, I'd just like a brief explanation from the director on how they arrive at that pricing. I know that there's actual costs in land assembly and development and local improvements, but I believe there's also a portion in there that's meant for future development, is it not?
Yeah, so when we calculate the cost of the lots, of course, we use the cost of the local improvements, which, as you've mentioned, are, the construction of the street, the sidewalks, the street lights, the services that have to go in there, and the services for each individual lot. In addition to those costs, we have a development levy that's spelled out in our development levy bylaw. That is based on the front frontage of each of these properties and is added into the total cost. That money is as these lots are sold, that money goes into to a fund for major capital projects that have to do with expansion. It's spelled out in the bylaw what things it can be spent on, but it would be like water and sewer mains, increases to maybe our sewer lagoon system, any arterial streets if there's additional costs. That money is accumulated so that it's paid out of there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Call for the vote on the resolution. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried, thank you. Next on the agenda, I have a resolution moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Phillips, that we authorize the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with CIBC Mortgages Incorporated for the quitclaim of parcel 133792780, lot 7, block 33, plan G3640, civically described as 2014 Stovall Avenue East, in accordance with the quitclaim deed between the city and CIBC Mortgages Incorporated. Any questions from council?
214, not 2014.
Did I say 2014? Did I? Well, okay, let's read that again. Described as 214 Stovall Avenue East. Any questions?
I thought it was a little nitpicky, sorry.
No, that's good. All right, call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried, thank you. Next up on the agenda is the building permit report. Do you have that in front of you? Any questions or comments? Okay, moving on to the Protective Services Department report. City Manager. City Manager,
We can't hear
are
you.
you on mute?
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, in front of you, you've got Chief Stewart's report as circulated, so any questions I would ask, please refer to him. As well to note, we have a Protective Services meeting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions for the chief? Councillor Holmans.
It's a very comprehensive report. It's nice to see. Just wondering if you got everything broken down even by incidents, time analysis for Melfort, number of incidents by time of day, and about 30% of the incidents seem to occur between 3 and 5 p.m. But are there any trends or any kind of things poking out when you do this analysis? Any kind of insights that you're seeing?
Time of day is usually the factor. It's later in the week. Last year it was Thursday, this year it's Wednesday, but it's always about that same time frame of the day after lunch, and people not thinking quite right, I think, is what's going on. But there's nothing major here that we need to worry about. The first quarter was grass fires like May, June. We were going hard with that, and now it's switched back into things that are in the city. A lot of it was rural to begin with. Now we're kind of balanced out again.
Do you use these at all to like keep people on call or adjust your staffing levels or anything like that?
If it's, right now, we have guys that are on call over the weekend. We have standby crews that guys are no more than 5 minutes, 5 miles away from home or the fire hall all weekend from Friday night through until early Monday morning to ensure that we've got proper coverage.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's move on to the Community Services Department report. City Manager?
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll see Director Lutz's report as circulated, and any questions I would refer to him at this time.
Council, any questions for Director Lutz? Okay, let's move into the Works and Utilities Committee. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Benson, seconded by Councillor George, that the minutes of the Works and Utilities Committee meeting held on June 26th be adopted as circulated. Councillor Terry, any comments with respect to that set of minutes?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Most of the meeting was comprised of bringing the committee up to date on current activities of the department. But the one item that's going to be coming before council later tonight is the Saskwater truck fill transition. Pardon me, not the transition, but the funding, make-up funding for the truck fill. That is in another set of minutes that I can speak to at that point.
Okay, thank you. Questions, anybody? Call for a vote on the resolution. All in favor?
In favor?
Carried, thank you. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Benson, seconded by Councillor George, that the minutes of the Works and Utilities Committee meeting held on July 2nd, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Councillor Terry, anything?
Most of that meeting, Your Worship, was taken up on the issues involving the renovations at the water plant by Saskwater. As some of you know, we own a portion of that still, and they are doing renovations that kind of affect some of our ownership, and so we're looking at transferring the ownership of some piping and the pumping and things like that. So the director's been very busy working with Saskwater to coordinate those items with the water plant. The tender for the Broadway Avenue paving came in under budget, which is nice, and we have set up another tender for the Grove Drive water line replacement that'll be occurring soon. I believe that's the highlights of that particular meeting, Your Worship.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council? All right, call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor?
Carried, thank you. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Benson, seconded by Councillor George, that the minutes of the Works and Utilities Committee meeting held on July 8th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Lot of meetings. Councillor Terry, any comments?
Yes, you'll see in there that we recommended to council that we approve of the pre-commitment of the 2021 utility capital budget for money to engage another contractor to complete the water line replacement on 300 block boroughs. There was originally, that was awarded to Tolleson and Cable Services, but due to other circumstances, they are backing out of that tender, and we've had to re-tender it to another contractor where we're needing to transfer some money to cover that. The other item in there was the Saskwater sludge pond. The Saskwater has to get rid of the sludge in that receiving pond, and are in the process of trying to get ministerial approval as to where they can locate it or dispose of it. And at the same time, we're in the process of setting a rate in anticipation of receiving it at our landfill. The director could speak more to that if he wishes.
Director, anything to add?
I've reached out to 3 Consulting with a firm price of $60 a ton, subject to any other additional treatment process that the ministry might apply. Saskwater is a tender that has to be in by June 17th, so the consultants were certainly looking for confirmed price. So that went out of here this morning to the consultants. Basically, can we accept sludge at our landfill? We are not licensed to do that, but the ministry is looking at it and it looks favorable. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor?
Thank you. Carried. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Benson, seconded by Councillor George, that we approve the pre-commitment of $39,412 of the 2021 utility capital budget reallocated from the unrequired 2021 water fill station capital budget funding to fund the balance of water line replacement required on the 300 block of Burroughs Avenue East and a section of Assiniboia Street in order to remove that portion from the Tollefson Cable Services Limited scope of work and add it as a change order to the GB Construction Limited contract equal to the existing price of the recently tendered Grote Drive contract for a total contract price of $203,750 plus applicable taxes. Questions from council? Any?
Your Worship?
Yes, Councillor Terry.
Yeah, just for clarification, as indicated before, we needed to find some make-up funding for the re-tendering of the 300 block of Burroughs there with a different contractor. And it just so happened that we originally had the 2021 budget set to cover a water fill station, but Saskwater in their commitment to us in relocating the water fill station from its current location out there, the water plant, into Melfort, they have developed that. There was some cost to the city, but nowhere near what we had budgeted for an entire new one. And so we found that that money sitting there in 2021 was not going to be needed. And so this resolution is to try to allocate that money from a non-needed source to a needed source.
Good, thank you for that explanation. Director Gilmore, anything to add?
I don't believe so, Your Worship, unless there's a question.
Okay, any questions from council? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the resolution. All in favor?
In favor?
Carried, thank you. Next on the agenda is the Works and Utilities Department report. City Manager, any comments?
Thanks, Your Worship. Again, I'll refer to Director Gilmore's report as circulated. You know, what we're experiencing here as we're finding out through some of these capital projects that some of the road work type of work is coming in quite extensively under budget. So we will certainly reach back out to council here with a game plan once everything is sent in. But I'll refer to Director Gilmore for his report as circulated.
Okay, thank you. Director Gilmore, any comments first?
On item 4, water breaks, where that particular day I made out the report, we had one more at the water plant. The one more at the water plant was on the old piping. They'll probably replace it within the next 30 days, but there was a leak that was substantial, affecting the reservoir capacity in the North Reservoir there. So was a busy digging water break, service connections. As per the city manager's comment there, we'll certainly review the meet and look at amending. There's been some cost saving on some tenders that that have come in, so we'll certainly have to evaluate that. We're expecting pathway tender to be in by the end of July, and then potentially we can bring something back to council to amend to meet funding, so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Director Gilmore? All right, moving on. No bylaws tonight. Any announcements? Anybody have any announcement? Councillor Mitchell?
I could have brought this up under the community services time, but I just, I think anybody who attended the Canada Day fireworks was very well done. Director Lutz, you're in the right role. You're not a DJ, but you were very entertaining. I think you did a good job. So don't quit your day job to pursue a job in radio, but, yeah, the fireworks were fantastic. So congratulations to everybody who worked on that particular, event.
Yeah, it was an event that was well run, I have to say.
I'd just
Councillor
like-
George?
I'd just like to comment that you estimated 3,000 people. That was probably on Stonegate, but there was people all over everywhere watching that. So I think 5,000 would be a lot closer number. People came from a long ways away too, so that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was very well done. Any other announcements? All right, we'll move on to the last resolution of the night. Moved by Councillor Phillips, seconded by Councillor George, that this meeting be adjourned. All in favor?
In favor.
Good, carried, thank you.